Fox News alert now because IRS Chief John Koskinen back in the congressional hot seat again, taking tough questions from lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee about poor record keeping this time at the IRS after a new report showing widespread fiscal mismanagement. By its own estimate, the government made over $100 billion in improper payments. That was just last year alone on things like tax credits to unqualified families, unemployment benefits to people who actually had jobs, and medical payments for possibly unnecessary treatments. Well, another live look now at the hearing underway. Lawmakers haven't gotten to the meat of the matter yet. But here's Koskinen and Oversight Committee Chair Darrell Issa having a lengthy discussion moments before the start of today's hearing. No word on exactly what they said to each other, but Issa did send the IRS chief a letter asking him if he wanted to revise his recent testimony concerning thousands of lost emails belonging to Lois Lerner. A lot to talk about here. The Real Talk with Chris Plant, syndicated radio talk show host of The Chris Plant Show. Leslie Marshall, also a syndicated radio talk show host of The Leslie Marshall Show and a Fox News contributor. Great to see the two of you. Well, I don't know if you could see that video, but you have Issa and Koskinen, who pretty much are going to probably have a fiery exchange any moment from now. But they're huddling together for about 7 minutes before the start of this thing. Leslie, what the heck is going on?
Well, I think what's going on here is similar to in a court of law, where you have the defense attorney and the prosecution going at it, and then after they go out for a beer. But with this, they kind of were having a verbal beer, if you will, a little cocktail 7-minute hour beforehand. And I think this is good so the American people can get a glimpse of the fact that there is although there is interrogation and questioning, there is a certain amount of grandstanding, theatrics, and certainly politics at play here. And I think that this exchange with great smiles between the two is proof of that.
Well,
but I'm sure Chris will disagree.
Well, I don't, because how do you know? How do you know when you see those smiles that they're not just saying like, you know, something totally different behind the smiles, Chris?
Yes, this is a little more, I think, like pro wrestling. You know, this is the Washington equivalent of a cage match. You got Koskinen versus Darrell Issa, and it's expected to get ugly before it gets any prettier. And, of course, there's a bit of civility, and Darrell Issa is painted in the media as a bad guy, and he's going up there and acting like a normal guy and greeting Mr. Koskinen as the chairman of the committee. Standard pleasantries being exchanged, and hopefully they'll get down to business. And Mr. Koskinen will go home with his head in a basket.
Well, apparently they have a lot of business to discuss because now we're finding out, you know, aside from these missing emails, which they'll probably get to, now we're finding out that the IRS, lo and behold, Leslie, they waste a bunch of our taxpayer money.
Well, honestly, yes, and this is not something that's new. When I started to research this, because I don't carry the IRS's screw-ups, quite frankly, and their numbers in my pocketbook, when I started to look at this, I went back 1 year, and I kept going back, and I went back through the Bush administration, Clinton administration. This has unfortunately been going on for decades. Look, I hate the IRS. I'm sure I'm not the only American who does. The problem here is, honestly, this past year, what's the problem been in the past? You have too many people don't pay their taxes, not enough people in the IRS to go after them. Too many people who are getting refunds who are deceased or unemployment benefits, you know, Social Security, that don't have to have those. But we also have to look that there were billions of dollars intercepted this past April. 75 of that went towards some of these debts that are over 10 years old.
Okay, but I do think that the American people right now are sitting home like going, really? Like the idea that the IRS can make all these mistakes, but certainly if the three of us did, we would be audited in a heartbeat.
That's true.
Chris, before I let you go, talk to me about what you think could happen with regard to being questioned about these Lois Lerner emails, because, you know, Issa really wanted Koskinen back in front of him because he's given him a chance to basically retestify. There's been some facts that didn't add up between Lois Lerner's attorney and then what Koskinen said about printing out hard copies of those emails.
Yeah, they and Darrell Issa again has been very polite and very courteous on this, offering Koskinen the opportunity to revise and extend his remarks, which were obviously untrue in many instances, and that ought to be a problem. You know, look, this is the, as far as I'm concerned, the Rosemary Woods, Richard Nixon 18.5-minute gap of of missing tape. These emails are the smoking gun. You know, nobody destroys hard drives. Emails don't disappear. Mr. Koskinen has been less than truthful, and I like quoting Jonathan Turley these days, the liberal George Washington University law professor, who says that Barack Obama is the president that Richard Nixon always wanted to be. And I think that's a little insulting to Richard Nixon, but hopefully we'll get to the bottom of the email debacle. We'll find out what was said by these senior IRS officials and get to the bottom of this truly awful scandal.
Yeah, well, we will bring that to you live on The Real Story if it happens during this hour. Guys, I got to wrap it there. Have a great day.
Thanks, Gretchen.
You too, Gretchen. Thank you.